Good afternoon, I'm Melissa Negrini with a breaking news report. Just before 8 p.m. local time last night, Air Force One touched down in Beijing, China with US President Donald Trump on board, ready to meet with President Xi Jinping. The president received full military honors upon his arrival at the airport. A large delegation of US business leaders in the tech industry accompanied the president on this trip, with potential business opportunities on the table. The summit between the two heads of state began earlier today with a formal welcome ceremony at the Grand Hall of the People, or the Great Hall of the People. On the agenda for today is a visit to the Temple of Heaven and a state banquet.
You and I have known each other now for a long time. In fact, the longest relationship of our two countries that any president and president has had. And that's, to me, an honor. We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you and you would call me. And whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked that out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together. Such respect for China, the job you've done. You're a great leader. I say it to everybody. You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true. I only say the truth. And I just want to say on behalf of all of the great delegation that we have the greatest businessmen, the biggest, and I guess the best in the world. We have amazing people, and they're all with me. Every single one of them, we asked the top 30 in the world, every single one of them said yes. And I didn't want the second or the third in the company. I wanted only the top. And they're here today to pay respects to you and to China. And they look forward to trade and doing business. And it's going to be totally reciprocal on our behalf. So I really look very much forward to our discussion. It's a big discussion. There are those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever. They can never remember anything like it. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before. Thank you very much.
In his address at the state opening of Parliament on Wednesday, King Charles announced the Labour government's plan to introduce digital ID through the Digital Access to Services Bill, claiming it will modernize how citizens interact with public services. The king, as a constitutional monarch, has no authority to make or initiate laws. He merely reads the script prepared by the Prime Minister. The government insists this scheme is voluntary and free, built on one login to ease access to benefits, tax, and licenses, with no centralized database. Critics, however, rightly dismiss this as a dangerous tactic, with Privacy Group warning of severe surveillance risks, data breaches, and the normalization of constant state verification for everyday life.
I feel like every single day the tyrannical regime in the United Kingdom does something even worse than the day before. Today, in the King's speech, Starmer's regime pushed forward its digital ID plan.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
And this is nothing but another major step to control your life, your data, and your freedom. British people will have no privacy left at all because their government will be watching everything even more than what they are doing right now. This is so clearly an authoritarian regime, guys, because after losing over 1,400 council seats and with 4 ministers resigning yesterday, Starmer is terrified of the British people regaining their power.
With only 2 days to go until the Unite the Kingdom rally on Saturday, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer gave it his best shot to downscale the impact of the event. So far, 7 speakers have reported that they have been banned by the UK government from entering the country to attend the event on May 16th. In an interview with historian David Starkey, organizer of the event Tommy Robinson stated that Starmer actually gave them free publicity this week by openly criticizing the event. One user on X stated that if you are banished from a country because of your opinion, then that means the end of democracy.
The desperation and lunacy of this government, the sheer lengths that they will go to try and damage people that they disagree with, and particularly the UTK event this coming Saturday in London, is becoming ridiculous. It's laughable. They're now banning people from attending and banning people from entering the country who had no intention of coming in the first place. I'm not joking. So there is a media commentator, I'm sure you will know him if you watch my types of videos, if you're on the right of politics, called Avi Yamini. He's been quite closely associated with the UTK movement and with Tommy in the past. So the government have issued him with a ban from coming to the event this Saturday. But he's put a video out and put some press releases out saying, I had no intention of coming anyway.
I've just been banned by Keir Starmer from entering the UK to attend a rally. But that's not even the craziest part. The most insane bit is I never even applied for the visa because I wasn't even planning to go.
What they've actually done is that he had an ETA visa going back about 18 months when he last attended the UK, and they have basically banned that visa in case he tried to use it again to come back to the UK. But he had no intention of even coming. So that's how desperate they are. They are searching around for anyone and everyone that might be connected, that might possibly say something nasty about them, that might possibly have said something nasty about them in the past, that might be overseas and might just be intending to come to the UK and know you're banned. And do they have no perception of PR, of publicity, of how these things go down in the wider public, how these things go down in the wider international community? They're making themselves an absolute laughingstock. They're making themselves look like total and utter fools. And actually, they're stoking the fires. They're giving people more motivation and more incentive to turn up. They're giving more people the drive to come when maybe they wouldn't have come.
British Member of Parliament and leader of Restore Britain Party, Rupert Lowe, in a post on X, condemned the UK government's actions against the march, calling it entirely wrong to ban foreign commentators from speaking at Robinson's rally. He further noted that he will formally be challenging the Home Office again on the decision to prevent these individuals from entering. Lowe noted that he won't be in attendance, but that many patriots will be, and that they deserve to hear lawful views in order to decide for themselves if they agree or not, and added, that's called free speech. And the Great British PAC, a far-right political advocacy group, took it a step further by formally writing to the UK Prime Minister and Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, demanding transparency on the exclusion of the 7 foreign activists invited to the rally. The letter directly challenges the Labour government over free speech and immigration enforcement consistency. It criticises the notification these activists received, stating their attendance is not conducive to the public good, and called it politically motivated. It further calls for the government to clarify the legal criteria applied and to confirm whether any criminal or terrorism-related findings exist.
The time is nearly upon us. In 3 days' time, patriots from around the country, from the hills of Scotland, from the streets of Northern Ireland, from the fields of Wales, or from the towns and cities of England, we come together as one unit. Why? Because we're pushing back. We're pushing back on the agendas that are being forced upon us. We're pushing back on what they're teaching our kids in school. We're pushing back on how our country and our cities and our towns are being changed within such a short space of time. We stand there for our grandfathers, those that stood on those beaches. We stand for the invasion on the south coast. We stand for the implementation of them putting these men in and around our women and children and our towns and cities. We stand there to push back. The elections have shown that within the next 3 years they will be wiped out.
Stay tuned to any of our Love World networks to stay updated with all the latest breaking news from around the globe. And now we move right into more updates from around the globe. During a media briefing on Tuesday, a journalist questioned Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, on President Donald Trump's statement regarding the financial impact the war with Iran has on the American people. The president, before leaving for China, noted that the most important element is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, but emphasized that once the war is over, the oil prices will drop and the stock markets will surge.
Yesterday, the president was asked about whether Americans' financial concerns were motivating him to make a deal with Iran. His response was, "I don't think about Americans' financial situations." Do you think that's the right message? Do you think the president should be considering the financial toll?
I don't know the context in which he made that comment, but I can tell you the president thinks about Americans' financial situations. I talk to him on average twice a day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, and we talk about it constantly. He's laser focused on trying to resolve the conflict in Iran, because if we get the Strait of Hormuz, when we get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, that will alleviate a lot of pressure with gas prices and other things in the economy. Now, we've done everything, the Republican Party, under President Trump's leadership, have done everything that we possibly can to reverse the maddening inflation of the Biden years that was at 40-year highs, and all the gross misspending over the last several years to get the economy back humming again. And we've done that in the big beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, infused with pro-growth policies. We put in incentives for job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers, small business owners, to expand and add more jobs, to increase wages. Those things are beginning to happen. We put into place the lowest taxes, the biggest tax cut in American history to help out hardworking American families. The average American household has over $10,000 more in their pocket because of the policies that we passed. We put into the bill legislation to allow for American energy dominance again, to continue with our permitting reforms, to get all these things going and humming again. And the conflict with Iran has put a little damper on that. Now, as soon as that's resolved, I agree with the Treasury Secretary, I agree with the President, you're going to have an alleviation of the pain at the pump, and you're going to have prices come down overall. And we're very much looking forward to that. As you know, other economic indicators are going very, very well. The jobs numbers, unemployment numbers, the stock market, all these other factors. So as soon as we get gas prices back under control, we alleviate that pain. And I can tell you the President is laser focused on it. He spends a large part of every day working to resolve this. Right now he's in China. The President has laid down a marker that was overdue and very important. The American people are not going to be taken advantage of anymore by adversaries or allies. And he's demonstrated that resolve and that principle day after day, and he's negotiated much better trade agreements and much more fair policies for us. When he says America first, he doesn't mean America alone, obviously. He means that we put the interest of America first. And I'm going to tell you that's not a selfish proposition. When we do that, it's good for our citizens, it's good for this country, and every freedom-loving person around the world.
As the Federal Reserve Chair's term draws to a close on Friday, the US Senate, in a 54-45 vote on Wednesday, confirmed that Kevin Warsh of Florida will be the next chairman of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the next 4 years. Warsh succeeds Jerome Powell, who publicly confirmed that he will step aside as the chair at the end of his term.
The ayes are 54, the nays are 45. The nomination is confirmed.
During a US Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, whistleblower James Erdman, a senior CIA operations officer, testified under oath before the Senate that CIA analysts repeatedly assessed a laboratory leak as the most likely origin of COVID-19. According to Erdman, these conclusions were buried, softened, rewritten, or withheld from Congress and the public. He further testified that Dr. Anthony Fauci played an intentional role in influencing the Intelligence Committee's assessment by providing a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists who favored a natural origin narrative.
Today, the committee will hear from an intelligence community whistleblower about these questions. The witness will testify that the CIA scientific analysts repeatedly concluded that a laboratory leak was the most likely origin of COVID-19, and that those conclusions were buried, softened, or withheld from Congress while the public was told to trust a different story. For years, Americans were told to trust the experts, trust the agencies, trust the intelligence community, and trust the officials who assured us that they were following the science. But the evidence before the committee tells a very different story. Today, we will expose a system in which a small circle of officials, scientists, grantees, and intelligence advisors move from agencies to agency, meeting to meeting, briefing to briefing, reviewing one another's work, and shaping one another's conclusions and presenting those conclusions to Congress and the public as if they were independent. In essence, the intelligence community pays researchers to review work and write papers. NIH funds their grants. The CIA then consults them and gives them access to classified information. The national academies publish their work. Policymakers then cite the result as a consensus. But it's a circle. At the center of the government side of this circle was Dr. Anthony Fauci. During COVID, intelligence officials arranged for Dr. Fauci to review highly classified intelligence assessments. But how can Anthony Fauci objectively comment on a discussion of COVID origins when he approved the very funding that may have caused the pandemic virus? From the outset of the pandemic, Dr. Fauci shaped the conclusions.
I am a career CIA operations officer, and as you mentioned, I was on joint duty assignment at the Office of Director National Intelligence Directors Initiatives Group, or the DIG, between March 2025 and April 2026. I was responsible for leading the DIG's investigation into COVID origins, anomalous health incidents, and unidentified anomalous phenomena. Intelligence community leaders and senior analysts downplayed the possibility that the COVID pandemic originated as a result of a lab incident. The IC's actions resulted in a cover-up, wasted resources, and a failure to properly inform policymakers. Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration.
A judge from Alberta Court of King's Bench, Shaina Leonard, has blocked a citizen petition seeking a provincial referendum on Alberta separating from Canada. Stay Free Alberta collected over 300,000 signatures after only requiring approximately 178,000 to hold a province-wide referendum on Alberta gaining independence. Justice Leonard determined that the Chief Electoral Officer had a duty to consult First Nations before advancing the process. She added that no such consultation occurred, and therefore the petition should never have been issued. Premier Danielle Smith stated that Alberta will appeal the decision.
I guess we will have to talk with our Quebec counterparts to see what they think about this kind of ruling. I would say that it is a single judge who's made a decision, and we have now 700,000 Albertans, whether they're on the Remain side or the Leave side, who've said that they want to have this public debate. So our citizen initiative petition was always meant to be very permissive, and we kept on having to modify it to ensure that that permissive quality was in there. We want to hear from Albertans. That's what we think democracy is. And we'll be meeting with our caucus and cabinet to further review the decision and decide next steps. But as I say, since we believe that this one is incorrect in law and anti-democratic, we will be appealing it.
Premier, I know that you said that you're going to be meeting and discussing next steps. Last week, we heard from Mitch Sylvester that if this court challenge was successful, he would tell people to sign up for the UCP membership so that they could try to force your hand, get this ballot out there in the fall. So my question is, will you listen to party members or will you respect the court's decision?
Well, I'll listen to my caucus and I'll listen to my cabinet because we are the duly elected representatives of the people of Alberta. And this is a decision by one judge at a lower court level, and it's appealable. And so because we think they have been incorrect in law, we will be appealing it. And we want to restore the idea of having a permissive approach to our citizen-initiated referendum and so questions. And so we have to discuss, of course, we want to be in compliance with what the judgment has said here in the immediate term, but the long term, we think it's worthy of us having a more robust discussion with the court on this, which is why we'll appeal it. And in the meantime, we'll have to talk with cabinet and caucus about what they think their next step should be.
India, chairman of BRICS's rotating presidency this year, is hosting a 2-day BRICS foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi, serving as a key preparatory gathering ahead of September's Leaders Summit. The meeting kicked off today with leaders from Russia, Brazil, South Africa, Egypt, and a few others in attendance. Iran, most notably, also received an invitation.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to India for this meeting of the BRICS Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Relations. As chair, I thank each delegation for their presence and for their continued commitment to strengthening cooperation within the BRICS framework. All of us remain in close and regular contact through bilateral and multilateral engagements. Gathering today for the BRICS meeting is, however, a special occasion. It allows us to exchange perspectives and encourages us to develop convergences. And in this complicated and uncertain world, that is of ever greater importance. Excellencies, India's chairship appreciates your support, which has contributed to the steady progress of our work. To date, we have organized over 80 BRICS meetings with active participation from all members. These engagements have strengthened cooperation and advanced dialogue across sectors. We look forward to building on this momentum. There is a growing expectation, particularly from emerging markets and developing countries, that BRICS will play a constructive and stabilizing role. In this background, our discussions today are an opportunity to reflect on global and regional developments and to consider practical ways to strengthen our cooperation. Development issues remain central. Many countries face challenges on energy, food, fertilizer, and health security, as also access to finance. BRICS can help them respond more effectively. Economic resilience is also key. Reliable supply chains and diversified markets are its essential components. We must focus on both. Peace and security remain central to the global order. Recent conflicts only underline the importance of dialogue and diplomacy. There is also a deeply shared interest in strengthening cooperation against terrorism. Excellencies, as chair, I will facilitate an open and constructive exchange. I encourage all delegations to share their perspectives.
Let's take a recap of today's headlines. President Trump received with full honors as US-China talks begin. Government pressure brings free publicity to Unite the Kingdom rally. Kevin Warsh set to lead Federal Reserve after Senate confirmation. And whistleblower testifies COVID-19 origin findings were altered or withheld. And with that, we wrap up today's Midday News Bulletin. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Melissa Negrini reporting for LN24 International, where we bring you news that is truth, the pulse of trusted analysis. Have a great afternoon. Goodbye.